Welcome to another episode of the Young Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Ali, and today's journey starts on a map most of us never open. Central Asia. Central Asia rarely dominates conversations about global logistics, yet since March 2025 the region has begun rewriting the map that links Chinese factories to European consumers. Kazakhstan's decision to slash by roughly a third, and, on its own territory, effectively abolish rail transit tariffs on the Trans-Caspian international transport route has turned what was once an exotic detour into a viable third artery of Eurasian trade. The route, nicknamed the Middle Corridor, sends a container train west from inland China across the Kazakh steppe to the Caspian Sea, ferries it over the water to Baku, then threads it through Azerbaijan and Georgia before it slots into the EU rail network. Operators who used to quote lead times of 7 weeks now advertise 18 days door-to-door and insist that 15 is within reach once remaining bottlenecks, mainly port berths and customs harmonization, are fixed. Kazakhstan's generosity is neither impulsive nor altruistic. Two external shocks have made alternative corridors suddenly fashionable. Russia's rail network, long the default overland path, is entangled in sanctions and payment restrictions, while the Suez Canal has grown riskier and pricier as drones, piracy and rising war risk insurance premia disrupt the Red Sea. Shippers need redundancy, and Astana spies a once-in-a-generation chance to reposition a landlocked country as the indispensable toll booth between East and West. By forgoing tariff revenue today, the government hopes to lock in long-term carriage volumes that will pay dividends through transit fees, foreign investment, and geopolitical clout. Early numbers suggest the gamble is working. Freight moving along the Kazakh leg of the corridor surged in 2024, forcing Caspian ferry operators to charter extra barges and pushing the port of Baku to accelerate a capacity-doubling expansion that will lift its container throughput to 500,000 TEU a year. Brussels has noticed too. The EU's Global Gateway Initiative has begun allocating grant money and concessional loans to rail upgrades, digital customs platforms, and renewable-powered cranes across the route, betting that a Russia-free, Suez risk-reduced land bridge will ultimately lower the delivered cost of European imports, from EV batteries and semiconductors to high-end fashion. Winners and losers are already coming into focus. Kazakh railways, Caucasus port authorities, and niche insurers that specialize in multimodal coverage see new revenue streams flowing their way. European importers gain bargaining power against ocean carriers whose pandemic-era pricing leverage is fading each time a container opts for rails and barges instead of a ship. Conversely, Russian railways faces the prospect of chronic demand leakage, and global box ship lines servicing the Asia-Mediterranean loop must watch high-margin cargoes slip ashore long before they reach the Suez choke point. For investors, the corridor presents a textbook frontier market asymmetry. Most portfolios that aim to capture the logistics theme do so through large, liquid shipping stocks or diversified emerging market ETFs that allocate little, if anything, to Central Asian rail monopolies or Caucasus ports. A modest satellite position in vehicles exposed to Kazakh transit volumes or Georgian logistics assets therefore offers optional upside should the middle corridor graduate from curiosity to mainstream lane. Because political instability, harsh winters on the Caspian, and funding gaps can still derail the project overnight, prudence dictates keeping allocations small, tracking quarterly cargo data, and treating the stake as a hedge rather than a core holding. The broader narrative is straightforward. When one traditional artery is choked by sanctions and another by security threats, the economics of geography shift with surprising speed. Kazakhstan's tariff cut is less a fire sale than a strategic down payment on decades of future tolls. A move that could turn Eurasia's overlooked center into an essential hinge of global trade. Anyone whose capital or career depends on the predictability of supply chains would do well to follow the freight statistics coming out of Aktau and Baku as closely as they watch headline indices at Shanghai or Rotterdam. A land bridge that once felt like a footnote is fast becoming the margin of safety for companies and investors who refuse to stake everything on the goodwill of either the Kremlin or the Suez. Now, why does that matter to you and me? Most young investors hold their supply chain exposure through giant shipping lines or broad emerging market ETFs. If the middle corridor becomes the next hot lane, those shipping stocks could underperform, while frontier market rail and port equities go from sleepy to spicy. You don't need to bet the farm, but parking even a tiny slice of your portfolio in something like Georgia Capital or in a logistics-heavy frontier ETF can give you optional upside. Think of it as your land bridge hedge. Just remember the rule with frontier plays. Keep your position size small because political or infrastructure hiccups can derail everything literally overnight. Track quarterly freight data and adjust. If volumes keep climbing, you might scale up. If not, treat it like an interesting postcard and move on. Alright, that's a wrap for today. If you found this helpful, share it with a friend or leave a review. It really helps the show grow. And don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter on Substack for more tips and updates. The link is in the description. Until next time, I'm Ali, and remember, investing is a journey, not a sprint. Keep learning, stay calm, and grow your wealth one smart move at a time.